I have got news for you all. And some people might see it as good news and some people might see it as bad news, but here is the news. Are you ready? On December 21st of this year, the world is not going to end.
It's not.
It's not.
So
I'm
we're gonna have a
sorry.
Merry Christmas.
Yep. You got to buy me a present. Well, there was a lot of talk leading up to now that the Mayan calendar predicted the end of the world and that it was going to end on 12/21/2012. I always thought that was a bit odd. It should be 12/21/21/12, but nope, they all insisted it was going to be this year, the world was going to end, that's it. But there was an archaeology team working down in Guatemala, and they were digging up this old Mayan village of, now watch me mispronounce it, Zoltan, which really sounds like the name of a villain from a bad sci-fi movie. But the town of Zoltan was buried by the jungle. It was abandoned somewhere around 899. And since then, the jungle has just filled in all the rooms. It's stone homes and rich mansions and all kinds of things. It was first rediscovered back in 1915. But nobody did anything about it because there were big pyramids and stuff to study. So it was kind of forgotten about until the 1970s when some looters came in and dug trenches all over the place, and anywhere they found objects they just took them out and sold them on the black market. Well, in recent years they've gotten money and they've been up there excavating various places, and technology has really improved lately, so that they now realize that the village of Zoltan is much bigger than they realized it was, and that means there's a whole lot of it that the looters never got near. So they've been excavating those areas to try to see what they can discover. And not much. They've been doing a lot of work and they haven't found much. And then one of the students working down there was looking at one of the trenches the looters had left behind, and on one of the stone walls there's a little bit of blue paint, just a few flecks. And she asked the professor about it. And he said, yeah, it's not worth digging there. The looters have already got everything of value out. And she sort of insisted, and he said, go ahead. And she started carefully uncovering the wall until suddenly she came across a head, painted head, with beautiful blue feathers or something streaming off of it. And that's when the professor took over.
Of course.
Sent in a big team to start excavating the room and discovered an intact painting of a Mayan king they never knew existed.
Wow.
And I guess the colors were I've seen pictures of it online, but the colors they say in person are just beautiful. So they're scrambling to try to preserve it. They also discovered a painting of a figure that is known as the Greater or Senior Obsidian. It seems to be a mythological character that they've never heard of before. And not far from him was the Lesser or Junior Obsidian, another character they've never heard of before. And then there were other characters drawn, some of them in color, some of them were just black outlines. The more they excavated this room, the more the walls uncovered for them. And then they got around to this one section of the walls, and there were figures painted there, and somebody, some Mayan, had scribbled symbols and numbers over top of it. And they kept excavating until they uncovered all of it and discovered the oldest, most complete Mayan calendar ever discovered. More than that, they think what happened, they think it was probably some scribe or some scholar worked there all the time and probably had kept referring to the calendar to do his work and got sick of it and just drew on the wall. But it also includes some of his calculations that places Mercury and Venus hundreds of years in the future for him, and they're almost exact positions. And they discovered, now here's the thing, the Mayans believe, like most people, like everybody, in cycles. Everything comes in cycles. And it used to be believed, with the most complete calendar that we used to have, that these cycles, known as batons, B-A-T-A-N, that there were 13 of them. And the 13th one runs out on December 12th, 2012. And their mythology says that when the cycles finally come to an end, the world ends. And then they discovered this calendar, which in some instances there were 17 batons. In other instances there were 40 batons. And some of the cycles of the past go back thousands and thousands of years. And as they started realizing it and looking at it, they knew the world will not end. And won't be an irony for everybody if a comet hits us on that date. But now they know the Mayan calendar extends hundreds, if not thousands of years beyond that time period, so the world's not going to end on that date. Who knows when it will? Because it is a cycle. They had cycles within cycles. So even when all of the small cycles end, there's the bigger cycle that continues onward. It's sort of like, what was that Hindu cycle? I forget what it's called. But it lasts as long as it takes for a bird to chip away at a stone block. The stone block is about 5 miles by 5 miles by 5 miles cubed. And the bird is kind of small and chips away at it, teeny tiny little bits, as you can imagine, a bird chipping away stone. The cycle lasts until that stone block is gone, which could take hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years, who knows. You know, also depends if the bird gets distracted or not. To get it to last the longest, I guess we all should pray for a bird with attention deficit disorder. Which is where that syndrome came from, I think, from bird brains. Well, it's sort of based on that idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, a worm. Oh, a shiny object. Hello.
Sorry.
Is that God calling?
No, but you
Then
better-
turn it off.
That's it. I thought I had. And I don't even need to turn this thing off. I thought I had put it on vibration.
Well, the main reason I'm bringing this up is so that if any of you were worried about December, you don't have to worry. If any of you were thinking, oh, goody, I don't have to buy him a Christmas present, you now still have to. I take large
Street check?
denominations. My color is green, or gold, or silver. But, you know, over the years, there have been a lot of predictions for the end of the world. And one of them recently was the Y2K scare. You know, when the millennium hit, everything was going to go kerflooey. We knew all the computers were going to die. And I'm not exactly sure if that's a bad thing or not. Considering how every business I call now is a computer that I talk to. And I think these computers that you talk to are starting to get attitudes.
I think so.
But before that, there were all kinds of predictions. People sold everything they had, stood up on hills waiting for the end to come. You had the, was it Heaven's Gate people, who were sure they're going to be carried away on a comet to paradise. There have been people who Well, one guy back in the 1800s predicted the end of the world 5 different times. And his followers believed him 4 different times. I mean, after a while, you got to catch on. But each time, they would sell everything they had. And they're the ones I'm thinking about. That was out east, they would actually go up on the hills and wait. Because they knew they were about to be transported directly to heaven, and everybody else was in for it. The end is coming. He got it wrong. The end didn't come. The next morning, he said, I miscalculated. I will go back and study and figure it out again. And a couple years later, he came up with another date and said, this is it. And they all prepared for it. And they all sold their possessions, and they all climbed on the same hills. And the next morning, he said, I dropped a decimal somewhere, I'm sure. Let me recalculate. It's amazing how many people, how many religions are doing everything they can to escape Earth. That's what all of this is about. We're finally going to get out of here. The aliens are going to come and take us to a much more peaceful, wonderful land. Yeah, right. If human history is any example, every time a technologically superior people land on your shore, they are not there to carry you off to a peaceful land. Or they're waiting for God to do it. Or the gods, depends on the religion. But somebody's going to do it. The end will come, and all the good people will be transported up. Some of you have heard me talk about before, there is a service, I think it's still in place. You can join an email service, and you put in your contact list, and what happens is, it constantly sends a message once a month to everybody in your contact list. I'm still here. But when the day comes and God transports everybody up, it won't send a message anymore. So when that day of the month passes by and you haven't got a message from John Doe, you'll know you're in trouble because he got transported to heaven. That's really what it is. Actually, what it is well, Hinduism and Buddhism have the cycle of life. You reincarnate back here until you finally can escape to nirvana. This is sort of the punishment area, the penalty box you keep getting sent back to until you figure out how to live life right, and then you get to go to the land of peace and happiness. Heaven is for those who obey all the rules and laws. Maybe. I mean, there are groups out there that believe that only the chosen few go actually to heaven. Yeah. Jehovah's Witnesses come to mind. When the Jehovah's Witnesses first started, they proclaimed that 133,000 people, the chosen ones, will get into heaven. All the rest of the people who follow the rules will get to stay here on earth, and earth will be made paradise-like, but it won't exactly be paradise because only the 133,000 will be up in paradise, sitting on the right-hand side of God. And that's going to be one big chair. And of course, a tiny little problem developed. See, at some point in the Jehovah's Witness history, they suddenly had 133,001 members. Who gets left out? Not a problem. We miscalculated. It's actually 1,330,000. We dropped a decimal. We've got 1,330,001 followers. Oh, we miscalculated. At some point, they actually sort of dropped the number. It's there, but it's not there. It's just, you know, if you're one of us, you get in. Some groups believe that paradise will be here on earth, and they, the chosen people, will rule earth. All the rest of the good people get to stick around, but it's the chosen few who control it all. What happens to the rest of us in all of these scenarios? You've got a ticket to ride, and it's down. Which really, I'm okay with, because somebody's got to run the bingo parlor down there. And we know it's hell. Whatever number you need will never show up.
Oh, my goodness.
But all of it, getting to heaven, getting to nirvana, getting to wherever, getting to the spaceship that will carry you to the great place, getting to inner earth, because there's a peaceful, wonderful place. There's tons of these things. And they all just have that one simple idea in mind. Let's get off this earth. Let's get away from this place. Because earth is such a horrible place, isn't it? Earth is full of disease and war and hatred and destruction and meanies. And that's what they see. And that's what they experience. And their time here on earth is terrible. But if you listen to the news, you've got to assume that all teenagers are horrible people. Right? They're all committing crimes. They're all doing drugs. They're all getting drunk. They're just all horrible people. And yet it's amazing, isn't it, that over 99% of all teenagers never get in trouble with the law. You report the bad ones. You never mention all the ones that are doing good. People of certain economic groups get lumped together. Shouldn't do that. People from certain countries all get lumped together. I realized when I was a little kid that most people around the world are the same. And I realized it watching TV. TV's wonderful, it'll teach you everything. Watching TV news, actually, because wherever anybody reported around the world, I don't care where it is, it can be in communist nations, it could be in democracies, it could be democratic republics, it can be Islamic controlled nations, it can be Hindu controlled nations, I don't care where it is, anywhere in the world, you set a reporter up on a deserted street, have them start talking, and within seconds, everywhere in the world, there's somebody who comes walking behind the camera. Before long, you have a group of people all standing back there. You always have that one guy who is trying to pretend like he doesn't know the camera's there, but he's constantly walking past it. You could go to the remote villages in the most remotest jungle in the most remotest part of the world and set up a camera, And people will do that because people are the same. Vast majority of people all over the world, they want peace. Most people just want to be left alone. They want to raise their kids. They want to have a job. They want whatever. They just want to be able to get on with their life in peace. That's the majority of people. Every time you tell of somebody who's destructive, I will guarantee you there's 1,000, if not 10,000 people who are out there doing something constructive. Look at how many hospitals, doctor's office, physical therapy places, vets that are in Columbus. All of those are filled with people who are trying to do something constructive, trying to do something helpful. Yeah, you got your few who aren't, but the vast majority of them are all people trying to do something helpful. Think about that next time you're driving along and you pass a doctor's office or a hospital. Amazed how many times, you're trying to lift something heavy into your car, for example. I've had people all the time come up and say you need help. I've done it. A lot of people just don't even think about it. Just offer. Sure, there's a lot of more people these days who are self-centered because of cell phones. I'm sorry to say. They're just so constantly on that phone that they're not paying attention to what's going on around them. But there's still an awful lot of people who will stop and ask, do you need help? And hopefully there's still enough people out there like the older gentleman I encountered a few years ago who was standing outside a lawnmower repair shop. His trunk was open, his lawnmower was sitting on the ground, and he was looking at it and his trunk. And I came up and I said, excuse me, sir, do you need help getting that in the car? He said, well, yes, I do. But if I let you help me, I won't know how to get it out by myself when I get home. Okay. There is disease in the world, that's true. But there's an awful lot of health out there as well. I mean, I know it seems to be that they are pushing to make everything into a disease anymore. You know, you've got a boy who's very, very active, a young boy who's very, very active. Oh my goodness, we've never heard of such a thing before. Better give him medicine. You have a teenage girl who's introspective and weepy. We've never heard of that before. Better give her medicine. You've got brown eyes. Oh no. Well, but the vast majority of people are relatively healthy. They just don't pay any attention to it when they're feeling good. It's when they get sick. What a horrible world this is. It's full of disease. Never think about all the days leading up to it where they were fine. And let's face facts, we live in a miraculous time. Did you know that there is a CAT scan device that's smaller than a briefcase? Powered by a solar panel on the top that they can carry with them into remote areas and do checks on people. Isn't that stunning? Isn't that miraculous? We do have tons of medicines and treatments to fix things that 20, 30, 40 years ago, they couldn't have done a thing for. And every day, they seem to come out with something new, something better. It's amazing. Someday they'll even come up with sleep aids. And then there's the blessings of the world. I think most people are so busy in their life just rushing around, they don't notice all the blessings that this world has to offer. Now, right now, springtime, all the flowers are in bloom. May seem cliche, but how many people stop to look at them? To just appreciate them? When we were kids, we would look up at the clouds and try to see what kind of images they were making. How many adults do that?
I do.
I believe I'm preaching to the choir.
I love to do that.
They must seem so much further away to you, Cynthia. Hey, that's for the straitjacket joke.
We better not laugh.
You're learning.
That was a nervous laugh.
No, he's been around Jan too long. She's teaching him bad things. Her fault.
Okay.
I'm too new, I'm not allowed to laugh.
And Jenny tried that one too, but she doesn't.
That's because she can't hit for it.
You know, this world is full of amazing things. And most people just rush past them, never even notice.
That's true.
We have a church near us that decided to put in a community garden. And I have a name for it, because they grow vegetables. I think it should be called the Garden of Eating. Garden of Eating.
Oh. Oh.
Except that they took up several big plots and have put down paving stones. We were driving past it today and I said to Sherry, look at that, they paved over paradise.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
there's still several big plots there, but
Nobody wants
and most of them now have flowers.
Uh-huh.
You know, so much for feeding the poor.
They weren't doing that.
Yeah. No, actually, sad to say, some of these places, I don't know about the one near us, but I know some of them people have put in these big community gardens. They grow big, beautiful tomatoes, and then people come by in the middle of the night and pick them all.
Yeah, they do.
I
Yeah.
think it happened there. They said, it was in the paper that, our Northland News last year, that it was for people who helped there.
Yeah, worked in it.
It wasn't just for everybody.
But anyway,
That's why they have more flowers this year.
that's why they have more flowers.
They had more weeds last year.
But how many people just, like I said, stop to take a look at the nature and wander around them? I go on rainy days and watch. I think it's amazing. Actually, you know what I love about rainstorms? The energy. I can feel the energy of the storm. I like standing out there just feeling the different energy. Until, of course, you get that one really bright flash of lightning and a thunder report right on top of it, and that's when you're going outside. Or you tell your wife to get her tripod or camera and go out and get some really good pictures. We need to look at the world and see the beauty and the wonder and the blessings of all of it. This physical life is a blessing. It is where we are learning and growing spiritually. Sure, that'll continue on the other side as well, but never discount what's happening here. God created all of this for a reason, and to denounce it and to say we're trying to escape it, to me that's an insult to God. I'm not going to do that. I know there's a reason for all of this, and I'm going to enjoy every minute of it. I'm even amazed by our physical forms. I mean, when you study and learn what it took to evolve into this, it's amazing. And you better appreciate being able to pick things up and enjoy it. I'm actually working on a Count Your Blessings idea. Count Your Blessings workbook. Do you have a little finger in your left hand? That's a blessing. There are some people in the world that don't. Each finger, those are blessings. Count them. How are they working? Can you bend them all the way? Do they hurt? Blessing, blessing, blessing. Does it hurt, but you can bend it all the way? Blessing. Can you blend it half the way? Blessing. Look at all the blessings I've counted. I've just started with my left hand. You know, the idea is see the blessings. Feel all of them. Experience them. Don't be in any hurry to escape this world. Don't denounce this world. This world is wonderful and beautiful, full of all kinds of things that God created. Appreciate and enjoy all of them. I can tell you this one before I close. Here's an incredible blessing. And every day I thank God for this blessing. You ready for it?
Amen.
I can breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And after having suffered severe life-threatening asthma as a child, when back then it was more like this, never take that for granted. Seems such a small thing. You can breathe. Get bronchitis. Then you'll see what a blessing it is to breathe normally. That's a blessing. That's one of God's glories in life. View all the blessings of this world. Count all of your blessings. Be amazed by how many there are. And I just start with the physical body. Move on to the people in your life. How are they blessings to you? Some of the people in your life maybe in the past who didn't treat you that well, but you learned, and that was a blessing. They made you the person you are today, and that's a blessing. Because you are the kind of person who has such extreme intelligence that you show up here every Sunday to listen to me talk. And I'm sure there's a blessing in there somewhere. Try to find it. This world is a wonderful, amazing, blessed place. We should embrace that. And if more people did, I think there'd be a lot less stress in the world. A lot more people would get along better. We would see an amazing change in our world. That's okay. It can't affect the whole world, but it affects me. And to me, this world is an absolute, wonderful, amazing blessing from God. And with that, I'd like to close, and we'd like to take up our free will offering.